It's Kevin McCullough on AM 970, The Answer.
You're listening to Kevin McCullough Radio, where we talk about breaking news as it happens, what it means, and why it matters.
Kevin McCullough, and here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Obliterating confusion.
Amplifying truth.
And pursuing clarity.
Kevin McCullough, now.
Glad you're with us. Some stories we're watching for you in this week between Christmas and New Year's. What does it mean that ISIS is in full retreat? We'll talk with General Jack Keane. The Daily Wire's Alicia Krause stops by to talk about the biggest news stories of the year. And David Fisher will talk about our money. It's all straight ahead on Kevin McCullough Radio.
Binge thinking.
Kevin McCullough.
Something interesting is happening with this.
Kevin McCullough, let me start with you.
I found this thing at townhall.com by Kevin McCullough.
The big dog
has come out of nowhere.
Kevin McCullough,
I just want to help people think.
nationally syndicated radio host and author of No He Can't.
He's playing the role as well as anybody could.
Kevin McCullough is a nationally syndicated radio host and author of No He Can't.
The odds are he's right.
It's Kevin McCullough Radio.
The sense that there was a completion and that we had done the work in a way that preserved our integrity, I think was a satisfying feeling.
That's an interesting statement from the former president, who had some big sit down with the Prince of England, the newly engaged Prince Harry. He's not the heir to the throne unless something happens to Will, but and then Will's kids, they're going to be old enough soon that even if something happens to him, most likely Prince Harry will not be the next monarch of England. But he sat down with former President Obama, had that statement. And it's interesting that that took place because today this is a blockbuster report that is coming out in that very uber-conservative newspaper called the Washington Post. The Justice Department is scolding the Obama administration following a report on how sexual harassment of all kinds was improperly handled at the department for years. Now, this is interesting because this is not just one new name or face in the sexual misconduct headline of the year, which I think is that's the story that just didn't stop giving. I think you could look for something like 20 weeks in a row and have more days than not a new claim, a new case, a new personality, a new person indicted in some way in the sexual misconduct story that just kept on going and going. But now the Department of Justice is saying that the Obama administration handled sexual harassment very badly at the department for years. The Washington Post reported on the Inspector General's report that found systemic problems with how complaints were addressed, with offending officials often being let off the hook or even rewarded. The article cited investigative reports on a lawyer who allegedly groped 2 female attorneys and a top U.S. Marshals official who had sex with approximately 9 women in the same office. His office. He was the top of the office. Though fresh complaints have been filed as recently as August of this year, the Inspector General said some of the worst offenses happened several years ago in the department's civil division. Ian Pryor, a spokesman in the Trump Justice Department, would not comment in detail about the allegations, but described the problems as largely occurring during the previous administration. Well, of course he's going to say that. The department does not specifically discuss employee disciplinary actions or comment on personnel actions or matters that may impact personal privacy. That said, the department was very disappointed with the issues that occurred in the previous administration and strives for a workplace free of harassment and other misconduct for all of our 115,000 employees. This is why the Civil Division has implemented additional safeguards and systems to ensure that all misconduct allegations are handled appropriately going forward. He also said that a working group has been convened to look at the issues raised and will soon have recommendations. Inspector General Michael Horowitz originally sent a memo in May of this year, alerting the DOJ to the potential systemic issues. All right, so that's, and there's all kinds of stories that I could give you that would be more in detail in terms of what the offenses were, but evidently in the Department of Justice, if you had the power over the last 8 years, you got away with a lot of bad conduct if you so wished, which is discouraging to say the least. But that's just breaking this afternoon, and there will be more on that, I'm sure, as the news goes on. There's also a number of other stories that, even though this is kind of a slow news week, they're making headlines nonetheless. And one of them has to do with the fact that the war over ISIS. Now, I was with a number of co-workers and former co-workers last week. We got together for a little after work get together, and one of the stories that came up that we were discussing was how the war against terror, specifically ISIS, has changed. That we don't really have any theater to go to anymore. That ISIS has been largely destroyed. And the people I were talking to they just didn't believe me. They said, how can that be the case? So you think ISIS is completely busted up? I said, that's not what I said. So what I said is they don't have a place to call home anymore. And in the discussion of the terror group ISIS, you can't have a discussion without talking about a thing called the caliphate. And the caliphate is tied to geography. Now, I admit that some of these terrorists that have done things here in the U.S., the 2 attacks here in New York this year, for example, probably completely unaffected by whether or not ISIS has strongholds overseas or not. But the one thing they can't do now, and it's difficult for them because this is how they grew their following. Come join the caliphate, meaning you had to come to the land where the caliphate was established, and then once you did, you could be, blessed, and then you go back and you kill all your infidels. But just listen to these numbers of cities. This is across Syria and Iraq. But Damascus, Palmyra, Aleppo, Raqqa, and Mosul. This time 1 year ago, and most of the geography that connects those cities. This time 1 year ago, all under ISIS control. This year, none of them. And I've got a map up on the Facebook and Twitter pages if you want to go see it. But where the ISIS controls now, they have a little orange sliver across the border, but there's no major city attached to it. It's kind of an ISIS zone, if you will. And that is that's the extent that ISIS is operating now in both Syria and Iraq. But a year ago, they had major claws into all of those cities and big, wide swaths. You can see it for yourself in the picture I've got up. But go to the social. And by the way, you can get to my social media. It's very simple. Facebook.com/KMC01 is my Facebook page. Twitter is @KMC Radio. I've got a Instagram as well, @KMC Radio. And then you can always find all of that and more by going to the website, theBingeThinker.com, and clicking through on the social media icon from there. But I've got these 2 maps that show ISIS control a year ago and ISIS control today, and just what a significant difference it truly is. So that's kind of an interesting story. And in the next segment, I want to get into that with General Jack Keane, because if this is in fact the case, then how does that impact our ability to fight the other threats that are out there? What about Iran? What's going on with North Korea? How are we adjusting? But isn't this a big win? And we didn't even extend troops into there this year. All the president did was kind of take the handcuffs off of his generals and said, do what you need to do to win the war. And now every major city that ISIS formerly held is no longer in their hands. I think that's a huge win. That should be one of the biggest stories of the year. Anyway, we got a lot to get to. Alicia Krause and I will kick around biggest stories of the year. It's a money midweek today, since it's not a Monday. It feels like a Monday, but it's not a Monday. But David Fisher's here with some interesting, observations about the economy, where we're headed, and what it means in 2018. All that straight ahead. Also, before we're done, a most offending piece of art in New York.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
We are looking at some big delays here across the Hudson River. Citybound GW Bridge, upper level, a 30-minute delay, slightly better downstairs. Lincoln Tunnel, an hour on the citybound side. Back to New Jersey, 45 minutes. Holland Tunnel, 45 minutes. Outbound, only 5 to 10 on the citybound side. Now, you're wondering why it's only 5 to 10 on the citybound side when the other Hudson River crossing is so bad. Well, one of the main approaches to the Holland Tunnel is the eastbound Newark Bay extension, and that is completely sealed off to traffic with emergency construction from Newark to Bayonne. That's exit 14 to 14A. That is backing up the main line of the turnpike back beyond exit 13. Southbound both spurs jammed into the car and truck lanes. 78 jammed eastbound coming into the main line of the turnpike, and 109 northbound is jammed up northbound bumper to bumper north of 78 up to and across the truck route 109 drawbridges and right into the heart of Jersey City. In Manhattan, northbound West Side Highway, we're slow from the 90s on up to the GW Bridge. FDR northbound slows through the 90s and again 150s to the GW Bridge. And now you know how not to go. I am Mike Barker on AM 970, The Answer.
Hi, Kevin McCullough. Have you ever had a legal question pertaining to elder law or estate law and wondered to yourself, what's the best course of action to take? Every Thursday during Kevin McCullough Radio at 5 o'clock on AM 970 The Answer, you'll hear Mike Connors of Connors & Sullivan Attorneys at Law answer a listener's actual question. If you have a legal question for Mike Connors, the Ask the Lawyer host, simply email the question to askmikeconnors@gmail.com or call the Legal Question of the Week phone line at 347-735-MIKE. That's 347-735-6453. And don't forget to tune in to Ask the Lawyer with Mike Connors every Saturday evening at 6 on AM 970 The Answer.
Show them your love, show them you care. Gifts sent as cash, your gift gets there. Come to a store, their hearts will soar. Best gift is cash, gifts they'll adore.
Get your gifting needs wrapped up today with Western Union. For $5, send up to $50 for pickup at over 43,000 U.S. agent locations. This is sending the best gift of all. This is Western Union. Fees and taxes may vary by brand, channel, and location and are subject to change without notice. NMLS 906983.
Hi, Kevin McCullough. Are you just sick and tired of carrying around weight that you don't want to have? I know that feeling, friend. I know how uncomfortable it is to look in the mirror and see things that you don't want to see. But the good news is I've got a way to guarantee you the results that you're looking for. 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days, guaranteed. That's what my friend, Dr. Carrie Skorsky of the Bay Ridge Holistic Healthcare Center will promise you if you call today. 844-THE-DIET. Think about it. Those pounds guaranteed to be gone. It's 100% customized to just you. There is no hunger, no cravings, no drugs, no prepackaged foods. It's doctor supervised. You eat real food the entire time. 844-THE-DIET. That's 844-THE-DIET. Call right now. Get your guarantee on to get your weight off. 844-THE-DIET. That's 844-THEDIET. Or go to a new you in 40days.com. That's a new you in 40days.com.
Tired of rats and mice living in your home or business rent-free? Then you need to plug in pest-free. Hi, I'm Scott. My father and I have been helping Australians be pest-free since 1995. Since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, it was always my dream to come to America. I could not be more excited than to make Plug-in Pest-Free available here. Plug-in Pest-Free will rid your home or business of rats, mice, and even aid in the control of cockroaches. Our bestseller, Plug-in Pest-Free Pro, covers up to a whopping 4,000 square feet, and that's fair income. At a one-time cost of only $249 and designed to last for years, Plug-in Pest-Free is your most cost-effective choice in pest protection. Stop wasting good money on those costly, ongoing, toxic chemical treatments. Plug-in Pest-Free today and start driving those pests away at GoPestFree.com. Use promo code MICE10 for 10% off and free shipping at GoPestFree.com. That's GoPestFree.com. Don't spray and regret. Plug in and forget. Order yours today at GoPestFree.com.
Our hosts all look like GQ models. See them now at am970theanswer.com. Rapids. You're listening to Kevin McCullough Radio.
We are hitting them 10 times harder. They claimed him as a soldier. Good luck. Every time they hit us, we know it's ISIS. We hit them like you folks won't believe.
Well, it's one of the real untold stories of the year. And I mean, amidst all of the other stories that there are to tell with what's happened in the economy, evidently Newsweek this afternoon saying that the president, just by wishing people Merry Christmas and saying, say more Merry Christmas to each other, is contributing to the rise of white supremacy. I don't know how that works, given all the African-American churches I know of last Sunday were celebrating Christmas, too. But having said that, there are a lot of big stories that are not getting the attention that they deserve, and one of them is what has happened in our war with ISIS. And here to discuss is one of our favorite military commentators, General Jack Keane, and he is no stranger. If you watch the Fox News channel, you see him regularly, and I think he always gives the most concise information. But he's a retired four-star general, former vice chief of staff for the Army, the chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, and a Fox News senior strategic analyst. General Keane, welcome back to Kevin McCullough Radio. Good to have you. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas. Good to be here.
Thank you. And I don't take it that you're trying to increase white supremacy by wishing me a Merry Christmas, and I appreciate that. Let's talk about this. I was just looking at some maps. General, a year ago at this time, there were 4 or 5 major cities that were considered ISIS strongholds that they held. And I got into an argument last Friday or Thursday with some coworkers about the job we've done there. I think a lot of people don't know this. None of those cities are held by ISIS now, and in fact, their plot of land has continued to shrink. Tell us the real story there.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. The 98% of the territory that ISIS claimed in Iraq and Syria indeed has been reclaimed. The only thing that they truly own and where they are deposited is in southeastern Syria along the Iraq-Syria border. And they're out in the middle of nowhere in somewhat of hiding. That's where some of their leaders are. So, yes, I mean, remember, ISIS established a caliphate safe haven principally to expand down the Arabian Peninsula, also into Jordan. Not only was that not able to happen, they lost everything, all the territory that they controlled. And the Obama administration took about half of that away from them during the 3 years that they had responsibility for it, from 2014 well into 2017 up to the beginning of the year. And the Trump administration came in and made a strategic change. They said, we're going to crush ISIS as quickly as possible. And therefore, they virtually took the remaining half of that territory away from them in about 9 or 10 months.
So why did it take Obama 3 years to do half the job and Trump 9 months to do the rest? What was the difference in the actual execution?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. Well, first of all, I believe they made a significant strategic blunder. ISIS had only several hundred fighters from Iraq when they moved into northeastern Syria, which was stalemated because of the civil war. Al-Baghdadi at the time thought it was a good place to hide, but it was from there he built his internet operations. And it so exploded out there that he was able to successfully recruit some 30,000 followers in 18 months, most of them coming from out of the area. He used that force in January of 2014 to invade Iraq. Maliki, because his army collapsed, appealed to the United States for assistance right away.
Right.
He needed air support. We did not make the first strike, Kevin, until 9 months later against ISIS, despite Maliki's pleas for assistance. That was a decision the Obama administration maintained. Even though they said ISIS is a top priority, they didn't make the first strike against ISIS's oil fields in Syria, which was their major funding source, until 15 months later. So these were strategic decisions that the Obama administration made that absolutely enabled ISIS, not only when they grew rapidly, but it enabled them to become an iconic brand where they spread worldwide into 30 countries and were able to conduct over those years 40 attacks against NATO countries alone. That was preventable if they had come in 2014 and said safe haven. That's the same thing that happened in Afghanistan with al-Qaeda. We left it there, and we got 9/11 as a result. That was a major lesson learned. What they should have done is crushed ISIS back in 2014 as quickly as possible. It would have prevented ISIS being able to expand so much and establishing this incredible brand around the world.
I think part of the other part of the story, General, is that in 9 months we did the other half of that, and largely without any awareness of what was going on. I mean, you wake up every single day, you don't really hear about the losses, the wins, the draws, etc. But our generals were really conducting and executing a war plan that was extremely effective.
Yeah, they took the Obama war plan in terms of largely using indigenous forces, Iraqi security forces, and in Syria, the Syrian Democratic Forces, as they called them, was a combination of Kurds and Arabs. So they took that plan. But what President Trump asked the team to do, what do you need? What do we need to get this done decisively? And so they gave him the same things they gave President Obama, but he never gave them the authority. So here's the three things that changed it. One, he eased up on the rules of engagement for the commanders so that they could engage the enemy on the ground and in the air with less restriction.
Right.
And less bureaucracy in it. Number two, excuse me, he gave the commanders full authorities to make tactical and operational decisions. The micromanaging that was going on in the White House of actually tactical operations in combat, somewhat unheard of, was over. And that certainly made the forces considerably more effective. Number three, then he gave them what they wanted. They needed more airstrikes. They tripled the number of airstrikes. They wanted artillery. He gave it to them. They wanted Apache helicopters. They needed more special operation forces, and they needed more advisors. He gave them all of those things that they asked for. That's why this thing dropped so quickly after 9 or 10 months.
Yeah, well, it's a huge win in our overall national security interests, and grateful for such a success in just 9 months of time. General, thanks for your thoughts on it, and we look forward to a great 2018 with you as well. Have a great New Year. You too. It's Kevin McCullough Radio. What was the biggest news story of the year? Stay with us.
News, opinion, passion. This is AM 970. The Answer.
Generally clear skies, 24 degrees on this Wednesday evening. What's going on? We have the answer. FDNY is on the scene of a Midtown fire that is sending smoke pouring from the roof of an industrial building. It's located near 54th Street and Broadway. Firefighters appear to be focusing on battling flames near the roof area. Multiple emergency personnel are on the street as well, with motorists advised to avoid that area. Officials are preparing the big New Year's Eve celebration here in New York City. Scott Pringle saw them install crystal triangles on the big ball today.
The nearly 12,000-pound ball is covered in more than 2,600 Waterford crystal triangles. Now, some of those triangles are swapped out every year to bring in a new theme. Jeff Strauss with Countdown Entertainment says this year's theme, the gift of serenity.
Beautiful cuts that resemble butterflies flying over Crystal Meadow in a spirit of serenity. What a great way to end 2017 and begin 2018.
Electrician Bob Stoltz is installing the new triangles.
It's a lot of hours, a lot of manpower, tedious, cold, fingertip hurting work.
This ball will produce billions of color combinations when it's lowered. In Times Square, Scott Pringle, NBC News Radio, New York.
In sports, hockey action, the Islanders host the Buffalo Sabres tonight at Barclays Center. Coverage of that game right here on AM 970 The Answer, beginning at 7 o'clock. Rangers host the Capitals. Devils host the Red Wings. All three local hockey teams hosting games tonight. Nets are in New Orleans to battle the Pelicans, and the Knicks are in Chicago. Taking a look at the traffic. Outbound side of the Holland Tunnel, 40 minutes. Citybound side side, about a 15 to 20-minute jam. Lincoln Tunnel, an hour inbound, 45 back to New Jersey, 25 to 30 on the citybound GW Bridge, both upstairs and down. Taking a look at your forecast, mostly clear skies tonight with an overnight low of 11 degrees. Sunny, bitterly cold tomorrow, high of 20 with wind chill, though. It'll feel like in the single digits much of the afternoon, and partly sunny on Friday with a high of 24 in the afternoon. And now you know what's going on. I am Mike Barker on AM 970, The Answer.
I'm back. That little voice inside your head. We both know going to Office Depot Office Max for 50% off print services is super smart. And your biz could use an Epson printer for $70 off. Now $79.99. Plus 50% off signs and banners? Oh, you deserve this. So let's go. Office Depot Office Max.
Taking care of business.
Offers end 11/18. Limit 1. Get 50% off coupon in-store or visit OfficeDepot.com/save.
Caregiving is more than a job, it's a calling. And Visiting Angels can match your loved ones with the right caregiver today. For years, the folks at Visiting Angels have been matching compassionate and professional in-home caregivers to individuals based on their needs and personalities. Senior care is meant to make life easier, not harder, and that's exactly what Visiting Angels does every day. Find them online at visitingangels.com or call 877-374-LIVE. They're America's choice in senior home care. Visiting Angels is always seeking those with the call for caregiving. Employment opportunities are available, and Visiting Angels provides support and guidance in fulfilling your caregiving and career dreams. Find them online at visitingangels.com or call 877-374-LIVE. visitingangels.com or 877-374-LIVE. Each office is independently owned and operated. Franchise opportunities are available.
I would steal pills from my friend's mom.
We talk about all the common drugs, but never prescription medication.
I was addicted to pills.
Had I more knowledge, I would have done things differently.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Elizabeth Esty. Prescription drug abuse is an epidemic in our communities. Secure your medications and talk with your kids today.
Visit drugfree.org to find out how together we can make a difference. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Tweet us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. We're everywhere. AM 970. TheAnswer.com. What you need to know when you need it. Kevin McCullough Radio.
Well, so glad you're with us, and thanks for giving me a couple of days off. It's fun to be back, though, and it's fun to chit-chat about the things that are going on. It is a rather low news cycle. There's not a ton of stuff going on, and the big stuff we will continue to cover anyway. But with Alicia Krause today, I thought it would be fun to talk about what was news this year, as everyone now, Alicia, is in this mode where they're trying to come up with what was the biggest story of 2017. And you know what? There were a lot to pick from. I mean, when you think about it, you've got the Vegas massacre, you've got all the hurricanes, you've got Trump. I mean, just Trump, just the word Trump. You've got the economy on a record course. And then you had that 25-week headlining issue of sexual misconduct that seemed to span the gamut of almost every industry in the country. I don't know. It's kind of hard to put a finger on what was the biggest story of the year. But if you were as one of the contributors to the Daily Wire and someone who works in the news, what would you say?
Can I have a top three? Because
sure.
I think, and I honestly think that in a lot of ways they're tied.
Okay.
Because of the impact that I'm considering it, not just for the news coverage that it got, but also the impact that it had on culture, or the culture at large as well. I think the number one thing would definitely be all of the Hollywood falling apart with sexual harassment scandals.
Yeah, sexual misconduct. Yep.
And the hashtag #MeToo campaign is up there. And then I would say, secondarily, when it comes to tragedies, of course, the Vegas massacre was awful. And I think that that's something that we're going to continue to wonder about and hopefully get answers for.
Well, you know what's weird about that story? Is that
how
it's
it just
like
disappeared?
Yeah. Like, what do we know
so
any more
big.
than we knew just a few days after? And, like, yet
Exactly.
nothing's being said about it.
Exactly. And
Very eerie.
I know it's very eerie, and I know our own contributor, Matt Walsh, and others have been saying, okay, what's going on here, and why haven't we learned more from law enforcement? So I feel like that still deserves to be in the top three just because it was such a horrific event, and of course, to get big news at the time. And then on a lighter note, but also political, and that took up weeks of coverage was the NFL thing. I think the whole kneeling thing is definitely going to go down in the hallmarks of big news stories from 2017, how it started, why it escalated, President Trump's remarks on it, the downfall kind of the NFL, things coming out about the NFL commissioner and where he wanted to spend money that was supposed to be allotted for veterans. He's trying to buy off all these kind of Black Lives Matter NFL players. I think that whole scandal in and of itself definitely deserves to be in the top three, and it's something that's going to continue to 2018, including with them saying that they're not going to have Sunday night football this week. They're saying that, it's just because it's New Year's Eve. But I think that they really are seeing a ratings and a sponsorship issue, and a lot of the NFL owners are very emboldened on both sides of the aisle here.
No, I think it's an interesting story, and I would say for sports, certainly the NFL number one in running away. In fact, just yesterday there was a headline released that gave the ratings for over the holiday weekend, and NBA way up, NFL way down, tickets and ratings in both instances. But you know what that does kind of disprove is that there's any type of racism attached to the viewing of sports.
People just want to watch their team. They have a team that they love. They have a team that they root for. It doesn't matter who's
But you can't convince me that a bunch of white supremacists are watching the NBA. I don't think that's what's going on there. So it's from that vantage point. And that's a story that's still continuing because Kaepernick wants to buy a piece of the the Carolina Panthers, and there's a discussion about whether or not he'll be allowed to and so forth. And I don't know. That's very interesting. But I think you're right. I think the sexual misconduct / Me Too, and that's what Time Magazine picked as its Person of the Year. But I just don't know how you get around that not being the number one news story of the year, given that it took down so many people in so many industries. You're talking about one of the most entrenched movie producers in Harvey Weinstein. You're talking about the most recognizable morning anchorman in America, Matt Lauer. Yeah. And if you look at every Oscar-nominated film for the past 10 years, a Weinstein and Company film has been up there. Yeah.
And whether it's the film of the year or the actor or the actress of the year, it is definitely something that I think is going to also be one of the stories that carries into 2018 because we're beginning to start the whole obnoxious award season.
Yeah, and I'm not looking forward to that this year, actually, because who from Hollywood's going to have the guts to show up? There are so many producers, actors, directors that are all like on this list, and none of them can even show their face anymore. We didn't have time to get into it, but the one other thing that I wanted to touch on was Melania sent out a little selfie this week in the Santa hat with the angels on it, and in our house it was an object of discussion because I thought it was kind of cute, and the lovely bride thought it was just totally beneath the office of the First Lady.
I agree with the bride.
Okay, there we go.
Most of America's men agree with you.
Well, I just thought it was a fun little thing. It didn't seem tasteless or anything like that. But anyway,
I don't think it was tasteless. I just think that that's something that cable news people do.
We'll talk about it more in the future. Alicia Krause, Happy New Year. Kevin McCullough coming right back.
You're invited to tune into Jewish News Night with host Larry Gordon, editor and publisher of the Five Towns Jewish Times, Saturday night at 9, featuring analysis and dialogue on matters of interest to the worldwide Jewish community. That's Saturday night at 9 on AM 970, The Answer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
We are so thrilled with this product. He was literally getting up, laying on the couch, and falling asleep. He's so alert. It's amazing. Totally amazing. This is a great product. His sodium levels have been low for, I would say, maybe close to 20 years. He's normal now. And this is the first time. And I can't even thank you enough.
The last thing I want to do is stop taking this. I definitely have lots more energy.
Have the confidence that you're giving your body what it needs. Call now to receive 35% off your first Balance of Nature order. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code The Answer.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-500-5588. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-500-5588 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-500-5588 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-500-5588.
Hey, it's Joe Piscopo on the radio. You heard me talking about spider crickets in my basement. They were so creepy to me. Well, a package arrived at my doorstep from Plug-in Pest Free. Well, I plugged in my Pest Free Pro, and now my pest problems are a thing of the past. The spider crickets are gone. It was that simple. Plug-in Pest Free is completely non-toxic, environmentally friendly, no fumes, no smell, no fuss, no mess. Plus, it's long-term and cost-effective. Forget about those expensive ongoing yearly chemical treatments. Your Plug-in Pest Free Pro has a one-time cost of only $249, saving you a ton of money. Visit GoPestFree.com. That's GoPestFree.com. Promo code Joe20 for 20% off and free shipping. GoPestFree.com. Promo code Joe20 before this offer expires. Don't spray and regret. Plug in and forget.
Carol Marks is one of America's leading experts on upper demographic issues and a champion in the battle against ageism. She hosts a weekly radio program devoted entirely to making life better for America's seasoned citizens and their families. Getting older requires strength and courage. Getting older requires community. Getting older requires information. A Touch of Gray, the talk show for grown-ups, Sunday afternoons 1 to 2, right here on AM 970, The Answer.
Breaking news and local news. Find it on our website, am970theanswer.com.
Wait a minute. We three kings of Orient time, bearing gifts, we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star.
If it's happening in New York or across the globe, learn why it matters first on Kevin McCullough Radio.
Well, and on Mondays, which this isn't, but it feels like one, we always take time to take a look at the markets and see what's going on. But we've decided with my great sponsor, Landmark Capital, to move the money report to the midweek this week and next, so that you still get an update on what's going on in the markets and so forth. And David Fisher is back with us from Landmark Gold, and we are excited to say that as a sponsor, we'll be continuing with us into 2018. David, thanks for being here. And Merry Christmas, which is just passed, and Happy New Year just in front of us. And speaking of New Year, and I'm going to let you talk in a second, I promise, David. We've got a big contest that is going to go down, a 1 ounce $20 gold coin that we're going to give away in the first quarter of next year, and be looking for details on how to sign up and register for it and everything. But in addition to that, every person that signs up for the contest also going to get a prize pack with a financial survival kit in it for 2018. Very, very excited about this. That's worth about $180, $189, I think. So be looking for that when we get into 2018. But David, as I said, welcome back. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me. A post-Merry Christmas to you and a pre-Happy New Year to you and your listeners. I'm excited for that packet, too. In fact, I'm going to let something out of the bag, too, Kevin. Okay. I'm writing a brand-new white paper specifically on the stock market and how things run in cycles. And so that's going to be a part of that survival packet. I'm going to include in that. So that's a big new hot off the press coming in January.
Well, be looking for that, friends. And when we tell you how to sign up for it, again, everybody that registers for the contest will get the Survival Pack complimentary, and we're glad to do that for you. All right, so we had the tax bill get passed, but then we're looking at debt ceiling, David, and then Congress passed a stopgap, which just kicks it, the football down, just a few weeks, et cetera. Tell us about the bill, why it's only a short term. Why can't we get a long-term spending bill in place, and what is this all forebode for the beginning of 2018?
Well, we've had 4 short-term spending gap bills pass year because always something else took more in precedence, like the health care first when President Trump was inaugurated into office, and then it became the tax bill, and now it's we want to put DACA in front of all this. So there's a lot of debate on, and now we have the infrastructure bill that's going to probably come out in January. President Trump's already alluded to that. He's going to hit the ground running. So there's a lot of things that they just kind of want to kick the can down the road, unfortunately. And Paul Ryan said, we have a tremendous problem here. We don't address our own laws that we pass to keep us from overspending, and we simply do not keep our spending in check, right, and we disobey our own rules. So this is a spending bill that will run out now on January 19th, but according to the Treasury, they can do some extraordinary maneuvers until about March, and then we're going to have some major problems. So I think they're going to kick the can down the road January 19th again. I think they're going to go right up to the deadline because we're not addressing our debt, and this is another sign that shares with us that other things are more important.
Well, it's really important. I want my listeners to understand. I'm effusive about the potential of the economy, but I'm equally concerned about the seriousness of the spending of the federal government. And so while I'm in favor of the tax bill, and I know that it causes deficits, which should theoretically be in the short term, once the additional revenues begin coming in, I want to see that loophole closed. I want to see the additional revenues go to pay down the debts that are outstanding. And so while it is, and I want listeners to understand clearly, it is a time to be very positive about what the economy can do. Absolutely. But we need to be very, very insistent upon the government being held accountable for what they do. And you've already mentioned the infrastructure bill. David, the president seems very high on this. He thinks Democrats and Republicans are both going to line up behind it. And why wouldn't they? It's a lot of money for their districts if they get a project approved. So how do you think this is going to go?
Well, I like the actual way he's going about it, and clearly infrastructure spending $1 trillion was President Obama tried to pass that, and now President Trump is wanting to pass something very similar. It'd be a little bit with a different twist. $200 billion would be for infrastructure projects coming funding from the White House, and $800 billion would go directly to the state and local funding. So it's going to, I think we're going to get bipartisan support on this. How they're going to fund it, I think that's where the challenge is going to be, because we have a regulatory spending cap of $20.5 trillion limit, and that's where we're going to have to do some fancy maneuvering as a country, because 28% of our budget is only what's freed up money to be used for this type of thing, and we've used a lot of that 28% already.
Oh, wow. All right. So does the country's situation, and with the potential of a coming correction that people are still talking about, does this all mean that gold is going to look upward in 2018?
Well, I think I predicted in the beginning of this year that we would have a bull market in stocks and a bull market in gold. And many people on many talk show hosts were asking, how can that be? Have we ever had that? You and I, we've had that conversation. Right. And I was right. We've had 2 bull markets simultaneously, not the same levels. But I think we're going to have the same thing. But I think stocks are not going to be as overly exuberant. I think we're going to have more normality of movements, maybe not even double-digit movements, but I think it's going to go up. But I think we need to be aware that we're in a territory that this is ready for a correction when considering that the S&P 500 has gone up for the last 9 months. It's the longest streak in history since 1983 at 18%. It's now showing signs that we got to face the reality that the correction is coming. Will it come next year? I don't know if that's going to come next year, but if we prolong it, it's going to get worse when the correction does come.
Well, and then, again, of course, that year-end discount in precious metals where you're passing the savings on directly to the people that call, that's still in effect through the end of the year. Friend, call and find out about that. Find out about the newest newsletter, The Fed's Influence. By the way, in 2018 for the contest and the survival kit, you're going to get a complimentary subscription to the newsletter. That's an amazing thing as well. Lots of good stuff. 844-604-2575 will help you find out all about it. 844-604-2575 or landmarkgold.com. David Fisher, have yourself a very happy new year, and we'll talk to you again next week.
I'm looking forward to it. Happy New Year.
Kevin McCullough Radio, coming right back.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
We are looking at a heavy ride here on Manhattan's West Side Highway northbound from 96th Street right up to the GW Bridge. South hour slow from the 80s right down into Hell's Kitchen. FDR northbound. That slow ride from the 50s up to the RFK Triborough Bridge. The not bad north on the Harlem River Drive to the GW Bridge. South hour slow from the 130s right down into the 60s. Westbound Cross Bronx jammed up at the Bronx River Parkway into the GW Bridge. Eastbound heavy off the bridge right out towards Webster Avenue. We are looking at delays in New Jersey on the North Bay Extension. Eastbound is completely closed between 14 in Newark and 14A in Bayonne until further notice, possibly until sometime tomorrow with emergency construction work. And we're looking at delays on the approaches to the Newark Bay Bridge. The Turnpike northbound jammed up from 12 to 13 as folks head for the Goethals Bridge to find a way around this at this point. And then the Bayonne Bridge is also very slow as you go between Staten Island and New Jersey. 78 and 1 and 9 also very slow in the Newark area. And now you know how not to go. I am Mike Barker on AM 970, The Answer.
People make your business work. But how do you find the right talent? ZipRecruiter. One click posts your job to over 100 top job boards. Then, smart matching technology instantly alerts quality candidates about your job. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
To try ZipRecruiter for free, just go to ZipRecruiter.com/expand. That's ZipRecruiter.com/expand.
Learn, love, lead. That's the heart of the student experience at Bob Jones University. Discover a university that's both academically challenging and spiritually encouraging. Learn from highly credentialed faculty who share your faith and approach everything from a biblical worldview. Be challenged to love God and others by getting outside your comfort zone and giving of yourself. Grow as a leader through opportunities on and off campus. Learn more online at bju.edu or call 800-252-6363. That's bju.edu or 800-252-6363.
Chances are your home financing questions won't end when this show does. So the next time you have a question about home loans, ask the lending experts at Citizens Bank. They can help you every step of the way during the home buying process, starting with getting a pre-approval before you start shopping for a new home. Call 212-857-6668, 212-857-6668, and ask a citizen. Mortgages are offered and originated by Citizens Bank N.A., NMLS number 433960, Equal Housing Lender.
The staff at AM 970 The Answer would like to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas and the happiest of New Years.
Hey, what's up? It's Bernardo. I work here at Salem Media of New York, and I want to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas.
Hi, this is Stu Engelkey, Chief Engineer. Have a Merry Christmas and a great New Year.
This is Peter Fiveland, the Business Manager, saying Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Chris LeGrand, and I'm a board operator here at Salem Media, and I want to wish you and your family happy holidays.
From AM 970, The Answer.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Jay Sekulow live is next on AM 970, The Answer.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light.
Obliterating confusion, amplifying truth, and pursuing clarity. It's Kevin McCullough Radio.
Well, we're glad you're with us. And, I've got a couple of days. I get to keep the Christmas bumpers in just a little longer, just a touch or two. They'll be gone by New Year's, I promise. But it's kind of like if you drive down the street from where you live, how many people have already taken their Christmas lights off? And then, okay, if you have, how many of you have someone that lives in your neighborhood whose Christmas lights will still be on in March and still being turned on every night? I've got 2 or 3 of those within just a couple of blocks of me. It's kind of interesting. They don't come off until like April, and then they're back on in November. Anyway, Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us. Hope you had a great holiday. Looking forward to starting the new year with you. We've got a lot. As I mentioned, we're going to have a big contest for a beautiful $20 1-ounce gold piece valued at about, $1,300, $1,400, depending on the price of gold on any given day. And you can register for that. We're going to be giving you details on how, et cetera, et cetera. So be listening. But it's going to be phenomenal, and you are going to just really love the other stuff you get with it. This survival pack from Landmark Capital, just a phenomenal gift. And again, they are a proud sponsor of Kevin McCullough Radio, and we are proud to have them. All right, so finally today, there is a new piece of artwork that went up on the side of a building on Broome Street. It went up on Christmas Eve. A Swedish street artist, Carolina Falkholt, took credit for this thing that was painted on the side of a very large building, and it's very, very tall. She said, "I've never heard so much laughter, seen so many happy faces behind my back when painting as for today doing this wall on Broome Street." This is what she said. One of the neighbors said he doesn't like it at all. In fact, his poor family, their living room window looks down across the alley at it. He says, in fact, there's lots of kids that live in this neighborhood and in this building. This is not appropriate for them. Others, according to the New York Post, didn't seem quite so hard on it. They said, it's not offensive. It doesn't bother me. An enterprising fitness trainer was even using it to supposedly improve business. Whatever the case, I'm not sure what motivated Carolina Falkholt to paint a large phallic symbol on the side, and very realistic one, on the side of a building on Broome Street. But friends, we got to do a lot better than that in the world's greatest city. I'm Kevin McCullough.
AM 97, The Answer.